What actions would you take if, in a single impulsive instant, you ventured beyond a boundary that could never be reclaimed? It was beyond my imagination that I could achieve such a thing. I was a devoted wife, patient and nurturing, the type of woman who prepared lunches, cherished anniversaries, and wore a smile even amidst the subtle disappointments of a marriage that had dimmed over time. Yet, as the storm raged on, the lights flickered and died, leaving us enveloped in darkness. With my body pressed against his, I unearthed a hunger so profound it filled me with dread. This tale unfolds the moment I ventured beyond a line with someone I ought to have avoided, irrevocably altering the course of my marriage. It was the night when everything transformed. The rain had poured ceaselessly throughout the evening, drumming against the windows with the fervor of an eager suitor. A distant thunder rumbled, a deep growl that thickened the air, infused with an unsettling energy. I recall the moment in the kitchen, my hands busy on a dish towel, as I listened to the storm's rhythmic drumming outside. My husband Thomas was gone again, off on yet another business trip, leaving behind an empty bed that felt all too familiar. Silence enveloped the house, a heavy stillness that seemed to linger in the air. My stepson Lucas was home, a 22-year-old embodiment of lean muscle and quiet confidence, the sort of young man who navigated the world as if he possessed a clear vision of his desires. He possessed his father's defined jawline, yet his mother's deep, perceptive eyes that seemed to hold a secret and lingered just a moment too long. In those moments when he believed I was oblivious, I reassured myself that it was merely a figment of my imagination. Suddenly, darkness enveloped the room. A flash of lightning cleaved the heavens, and the house was engulfed in shadow. The refrigerator's hum faded into silence. The television flickered to darkness, leaving the room enveloped in silence, save for the rhythmic patter of rain and the hurried cadence of my breath. "Wow," Lucas murmured from the living room. I searched for my phone, activating the flashlight. The beam sliced through the shadows, trembling in my uncertain grip. "The power is out," I remarked, voicing the evident truth. "Indeed, that's quite true." His voice lingered nearer than I had anticipated. I pivoted, and there he stood, scarcely a foot from me. The flashlight illuminated his features, casting stark shadows that accentuated the curve of his lips and the way his t-shirt hugged his chest. He must have recently emerged from the gym. The subtle musk of sweat lingered in the air, a raw essence intertwined with the fresh aroma of his body wash. My throat felt parched. "Have you taken a moment to inspect the breaker?" I inquired too hastily. "Indeed, it is the tempest." He moved slightly, and in the soft glow of the light, I caught a glimpse of his eyes momentarily drifting to the V of my blouse. I ought to have taken a step back. I ought to have concocted some excuse, retreated upstairs, and secured myself in my room until dawn broke. However, I chose not to. In that moment I stumbled. A careless rug, an unfortunate misstep. As my ankle twisted, I stumbled forward, a sharp gasp escaping my lips. Lucas seized me, his grip steady on my waist. Yet the force was overwhelming. We tumbled onto the couch, my body positioned above his, my legs draped over his hips. In that moment, I understood that the intimacy we shared had ventured into perilous grounds. His body betrayed him before he could conceal it, and so did mine. "God help me," I replied. Heat surged through my cheeks, while a flutter stirred in my stomach. My breath caught in my throat as I attempted to rise, yet his hold only grew stronger, anchoring me in place. Location. This was something I desired as well. In that infinite moment we remained utterly still. The atmosphere surrounding us crackled with an intense energy, laden with an alluring peril. His heartbeat pulsed against me, quick and erratic, as our bodies intertwined. His breath caressed my lips with a warm whisper. I found it enjoyable. His hands glided up my sides, measured and intentional. "Lucas," I murmured softly. He responded with a ragged breath, his hips moving subtly beneath me, revealing the depth of his desire. Desired me. I had no desire for it, put an end to it. Instead, I bent low, and in the shadows, as the tempest roared beyond the walls, a fleeting moment of vulnerability transformed into a kiss that was never meant to be. I am Lillian Hayes, and prior to that fateful night, prior to the tempest, prior to the darkness that enveloped us, prior to his arrival, I existed as a different person altogether. I was the type of woman people characterized as steadfast and dependable, the kind of wife who remembered every birthday, ensured the house gleamed before guests arrived, and never allowed the wine to run dry during dinner gatherings. Thomas, my husband, referred to me as his rock. It was intended as a compliment, I suppose, yet at times it bore the weight of a life sentence. It was a decade ago when I first crossed paths with Thomas at a charity gala held in the heart of downtown Chicago. He exuded an air of refined elegance, his salt and pepper hair perfectly styled, a Rolex gleaming on his wrist, its value surpassing that of my car, and a smile that hinted at unwavering reliability. At the age of 32, I found myself newly divorced, grappling with the lingering pain of a marriage that had shattered beneath the burden of my ex-husband's betrayal. Thomas stood apart from the rest. He exuded a sense of reliability, unwavering and consistent. After a year of courtship, we exchanged vows. He captivated me in a manner that only a man of wealth and self-assurance could. Opulent getaways, hushed assurances of safety, a residence in the tranquil suburbs where the grass was perpetually lush and the neighbors maintained a serene silence. And then there was Lucas, the stepson of Thomas, my own stepson. Lucas was 21 when I first encountered him, enveloped in brooding silences, still tender from the wounds of his parents' divorce. His mother had relocated to Italy with her new husband, abandoning him as if he were merely an afterthought. I endeavored to embody kindness and a nurturing spirit, yet Lucas showed no inclination towards seeking a substitute mother. He was, nonetheless, intrigued by the prospect of observing me. Initially, I convinced myself it was merely a figment of my imagination. The way his gaze seemed to linger when I bent down to retrieve something, the sly smirk that danced across his lips when Thomas was oblivious, as if he held a secret about me that I had yet to uncover. I chose to overlook it. I had to push it aside, for I was Lillian Hayes, the devoted wife, the steady presence, until that fateful night when everything changed. Fissures lurking just below the facade. Our union was far from flawless. Seep and flow. Thomas journeyed frequently, often leaving me solitary in that vast, vacant house, accompanied only by my musings and the sporadic text assuring me of his imminent return. Soon, next week, next month, once this deal wraps up, I reassured myself that it was fine, yet every time I noticed Lucas observing me from across the dinner table, his knee grazing mine beneath it, a stirring sensation would coil within me. It was not solely him. I was the one. I began to alter my attire in anticipation of his arrival. A plunging neckline, a snug sweater, the way I would linger in the kitchen when he was present, feigning indifference as his gaze followed the contour of my waist. I found myself dancing with flames, and the warmth was intoxicating. On the night of the storm, the power outage ought to have been a mere trifle, a slight disruption in the grand scheme of things. Yet, in that moment, I found myself enveloped in his embrace. In that moment, I found myself above him. In that moment, I sensed his presence. As our lips collided in the shadows, a fragment of my soul broke free, his kiss tender and soft, his hands tangled in my hair, resting on my hips, drawing me nearer until every inch of space vanished between us. I shouldn't have stopped. As the lights flickered back to life, we separated with the startled energy of wayward youths caught in a moment of indiscretion. Lucas's lips bore the marks of swelling. His pupils were dilated, his chest heaving as if he had just sprinted a mile. I found it impossible to meet his gaze. I found myself utterly captivated. Silence enveloped us. What could possibly be expressed? We have just traversed a boundary that is irrevocably crossed. I am your stepmother. This must never occur again. Yet, as I retreated to my sanctuary, my skin still tingling with the echo of his caress, there was one truth I held with unwavering conviction. It was destined to occur once more. The deception that ignited everything. Upon waking the morning after the power outage, I found my husband's text illuminating my phone screen. The flight has been delayed. I shall not return until Thursday. Just 3 more days. 3 additional. Endless days of this. The warmth coursing through my veins. This weight of guilt lodged in my throat. The recollection of Lucas's lips pressed against my own. I adorned myself with meticulous attention. A silk blouse that Thomas had gifted me. The one he claimed complemented the color of my eyes. Black slacks that embraced my hips. Fragrance brushed against my wrists. My collarbone. In my own reflection, I deceived myself. In the kitchen below, Lucas stood shirtless, effortlessly scrambling eggs as if the world around him had remained unchanged. The sinews of his back rippled with each motion, sending a flutter of tension through my core. He pivoted at the sound of my presence. His gaze traverses me, measured and intentional. "Morning," he said, his voice gravelly. I ought to have turned my back and left. Instead, I moved in closer. It all began in the laundry room, an absurd setting for such a clandestine encounter. Amidst the scent of detergent and the rhythmic hum of the dryer, as the morning sun spilled through the small window, I stepped in to fetch a towel. Lucas trailed behind. The door clicked softly into place behind him. Silence enveloped us. His hands found their way to me, guiding and pressing me against the vibrating washing machine that throbbed beneath us. It was something I desired. His lips collided with mine, more fervent than the night before, more insatiable. I inhaled sharply as he consumed the sound, his fingers pressing into my hips. I desired it. Instruct me to halt. His breath brushed softly against my lips. I did not endure the roughness of calloused palms against my skin. I leaned into him, a jolt as the mechanism engaged. Water surged forward, the drums awakening with a vibrant pulse beneath me. With a sly grin, Lucas smirked. It seems we are not alone in experiencing the rain. In this moment, I pressed my lips against his chest, laughter bubbling up within me. A vibrant sense of life coursing through my veins that I hadn't experienced in years. His mouth found its way to my neck, his knee gently urging my legs apart. And in that moment, all coherent thoughts slipped away, leaving behind the guilt that suddenly felt so insignificant. Afterward, I anticipated that regret would never arrive. Only this yearning wound tightly within me, more piercing than any sense of disgrace. Lucas drew languid circles on my exposed shoulder while we lay entwined on his bed. The space he calls his own. Divine presence. The room of his youth. The baseball trophy remains perched upon the shelves. He murmured, "Your thoughts are too loud." Thoughts of Thomas crossed my mind. About the way he would press his lips to mine in farewell. His gaze fixed firmly on the screen of his phone. It had been months since he had laid a finger on me. At this moment, I found myself indifferent. Lucas pressed down onto me. His weight a comforting presence I had come to know well. He playfully nibbled at my earlobe. "He is unworthy of you." As his hips swayed against mine, I surrendered to the belief he instilled in me. The peril? We embraced recklessness. Swift turns unfolded as Thomas toiled into the night. My fingers tangled in Lucas's hair as he knelt between my thighs in his father's home office. The lines blurred between our mistakes and our desires in those moments when we ought to have held back. Water cascaded around us as I stifled my moans against his shoulder. There was a moment, a fleeting instant, when we teetered on the brink of discovery. Thomas returned home ahead of schedule. Lucas scarcely had a moment to pull his jeans up before the sound of his father's key turning in the lock echoed through the room. I smoothed my skirt, my heart racing as Thomas entered, a blissful smile on his face as he placed a fleeting kiss on my cheek. He expressed his longing, saying, "I've missed you." A smirk played on Lucas's lips as he watched from the shadows. That evening, tears streamed down my face as I stood beneath the cascading water in the shower. As soon as Thomas succumbed to slumber, I sent a message to Lucas. The moment beyond which there is no turning back. It was destined to end. I was aware of that. Yet, in moments of abandon, we surrendered to impulsive choices, oblivious to the repercussions, and murmured, "You're mine now." I was reluctant to see it conclude, even if it meant my own undoing. Thomas's flight home faced a delay, yet his meetings had been canceled. A detail he conveniently omitted until his car rolled into the driveway 2 days ahead of schedule. In the kitchen, warmth still lingering from Lucas's lips on my skin just moments ago, I heard the garage door rumble open. My stomach plummeted. From the hallway, Lucas's voice emerged, low and filled with urgency. As the sound of Thomas's keys jingled at the door, I turned to face the entrance. Time slipped away, leaving no opportunity to remedy my smudged lipstick. There's simply no way to articulate the mystery of my blouse being buttoned incorrectly. Thomas entered, his briefcase thudding onto the counter. "Surprise," he declared, a grin spreading across his face. I conjured a smile. "You've arrived ahead of schedule." His eyes darted away. I approached Lucas, who lounged against the fridge, barefoot and exuding a sense of smug satisfaction. An inscrutable expression flickered across Thomas's features. "You both seem quite occupied." The silence lingered for a moment that felt just a heartbeat too extended. With a sly grin, Lucas assisted Lillian with the groceries. The bags remained in the car. Thomas narrowed his eyes. The air was thick with suspicion. The evening meal unfolded like a treacherous landscape. Thomas observed us from behind his wineglass, his inquiries piercing and incisive. "Have you completed that report, Lucas? You've been spending quite a bit of time at home lately, haven't you, Lillian? What adornment graces your neck?" I brushed my fingers against the place where Lucas's teeth had rested just hours before. An incident during yoga practice. Lucas's fingers brushed against me beneath the table. The fork in Thomas's hand made a delicate clink as it met the surface of his plate. Amusing. Yoga was never your cup of tea. Narrow escape. I began securing my bedroom door, not to exclude Thomas, but to prevent myself from wandering down the hall to Lucas's room. It was unsuccessful. One night, I stirred from sleep to the sensation of fingers gliding along my thigh, accompanied by Lucas's warm breath whispering against my neck. "I missed you. Your father mentioned he's just down the hall." His hand glided upward, intensifying the heat. The most unfortunate aspect. He was indeed correct. Silence enveloped us, swift, in a state of utter despair. As Lucas stealthily returned to his room, I caught the sound. The creak of Thomas's door opening hung in the air, a moment suspended in time. Soft footsteps glided by, barely disturbing the stillness around me. The bathroom light sprang to life, letting go of the breath. It was then that I caught sight of Lucas's phone, its screen illuminating the nightstand with a soft glow. A message from Thomas. "It's time for a conversation. Bill Lum." Lucas chuckled dismissively. He's simply irate. I failed to meet the curfew, yet Thomas's gazes lingered, his inquiries becoming increasingly pointed. It was on that fateful morning when he let his briefcase slip from his grasp, sending a flurry of papers cascading across the foyer. I knelt down, offering my assistance, and there it was before me. A receipt for a PI, dated yesterday. Option. That evening, I filled 2 glasses with bourbon, one for Thomas and one for myself. As he lifted the glass to his lips and took that initial sip, I uttered the words, "I seek to end this marriage." His expression remained unchanged. It must be Lucas, right? The vessel of transparency slipped through my fingers. Thomas smiled with a chill, aware that the way he gazed at you was a reflection of how you allowed it. I anticipated a storm of anger, yet here lies this calm assurance. He inclined his body slightly, drawing closer. "Take your leave now, and I shall feign ignorance of the truth that lies before me." Filled a single bag. Lucas sat in his truck, the engine humming steadily beneath him as he waited. As we pulled away, my phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. Thomas's last message. "You'll come to regret this," Lucas declared. He is mistaken. Yet, as our new chapter unfolded, a singular thought lingered in my mind. What have I wrought? The motel room was permeated with the scent of bleach and a lingering sense of regret. Lucas tossed our bags onto the bed. One bed, naturally, as there was only one, and he turned to me with that smirk that once made my stomach flutter. At this moment, my hands trembled uncontrollably. "Are you all right?" he inquired, shedding his shirt as if we hadn't just detonated our existence. With a chuckle, Lucas moved in closer. Indeed, he did not lay a finger on you. I was indeed. His fingers pressed into my hips, and I knew I should have pushed him away. I did not. This experience proved to be more challenging than the norm. Fangs and claws, devoid of any facade of affection. Is it merely tidy? Subsequently, while Lucas lay in slumber, I quietly made my way to the bathroom and expelled the contents of my stomach. 3 days later, the reckoning arrived. Thomas's revenge was at hand. Initially, the bank declared our joint accounts frozen, followed by the eviction notice affixed with tape to the window of Lucas's truck. At last, the email bearing the subject line "For your records" has arrived. Enclosures. Surveillance video captures the moment I pinned Lucas against the refrigerator. A captured glimpse of my browsing history. Is it permissible for a stepmother to wed her stepson? A message forwarded to the mother of Lucas. Your stepson has laid hands on my wife. Lucas's phone erupted with notifications in mere minutes. Mother, what have you done? Your time with the team has come to an end, coach. Unfamiliar hashtag. I trust the value matched the cost you incurred. He hurled the screen against the wall with force. Wow. I remained motionless, my gaze fixed on the final attachment. A completed divorce petition bearing one harsh condition. The wife relinquishes all marital assets as a consequence of her infidelity. Thomas had meticulously orchestrated this moment, biding his time for its arrival. Allow me to step boldly into it. The fissures within the illusion. Lucas took his first sip of alcohol. Not the whimsical brews, from the refrigerator variety. A relentless spiral from which I could not escape. He would bang the cabinets shut, clutch my wrist with a fierce grip, and grumble about Thomas being the source of all our troubles. One evening he returned, enveloped in the scent of a fragrance that was not my own. I feigned ignorance. What entitlement did I possess to voice my grievances? In the dim light of a Waffle House, the clock struck 2 a.m. Lucas had just poured himself a third bourbon when I foolishly suggested that perhaps we ought to take it easy. The fork clanged against the plate with a sharp, metallic sound. Are you referring to me, Lucas? You used me, he hissed, leaning across the sticky table. In the midst of your boredom, I found myself present, and now here we are. You find yourself tethered to my presence. Confess it. The pair in the adjacent booth ceased their meal. A searing sensation gripped my throat. That is simply not the case. Below for below. His voice fell to a whisper. Do you long for your spacious home? Is your affluent spouse? Return to him if that is what you desire. Discover whether he still desires you now that the truth about your nature is laid bare for all to see. I splashed my water across his face. He chuckled, dabbing at his chin. Behold the Lillian. I appreciate the moment of clarity. The following morning, I found myself waking up in solitude. Lucas discovered that his duffel bag had vanished. There it lay, the $300 I had tucked away in my sock drawer. His notes unfurled on the motel stationery. You are not alone in this experience. This won't be the final chapter, Jay. I found myself laughing so hard that tears streamed down my face. Then I reached out to the sole individual who would pick up the phone. Thomas answered on the very first ring. Lillian. Only my name. Neither anger nor gloating, merely understanding. I shut my eyes. Longing for the comfort of home, I yearned to return. The silence stretched on. An eternity contained within a single heartbeat. At that moment you find yourself back where you belong. Gaze out the window. I drew aside the curtain. In the parking lot, Thomas's BMW sat, its engine humming softly, anticipating, perpetually in anticipation. Selection. I lingered in that spot for a full 10 minutes, observing the vehicle, gazing at my image in the soiled glass. Blurred traces of mascara, disheveled locks. The specter of Lucas's fingerprints lingers on. Upon my collarbone. The phone rang once more. Thomas. I allowed it to slip into voicemail. With a final glance around the room, I gathered my last bag, placed the key delicately on the dresser, and stepped out into the world beyond. Beyond the BMW. Beyond the confines of the motel office. Beyond all that I once believed I desired. Thomas chose not to follow. He was not obligated to. Certain forms of punishment need not rely on chains. The cafe. It carried the warm aroma of cinnamon, mingled with the charred scent of burnt beans. I swirled my latte, observing as the foam melted away into inconsequential patterns. My therapist suggested that I begin journaling to process the trauma through storytelling. Yet all that I ever penned was, "The house lingers in my thoughts," a bittersweet echo of what once was. Longing for the days gone by fills my heart with a bittersweet ache. I feel no longing for him. What is the reason behind this? Both of them are dearly missed. That was the most chilling part. The vibration of my phone broke the silence. An alert from the calendar. The court hearing is scheduled for 2 p.m. The ultimate decree of dissolution. Thomas exhibited an unexpected generosity. No spousal support, yet no legal battles to contend with either. A fresh start. Just as I was poised to mute the incessant notification, another message materialized on the screen. A familiar figure. Turn around. My stomach plummeted. The return. Lucas settled into the chair opposite me, brimming with confidence and adorned with fresh ink. His hair had grown longer. His jaw was more defined. He carried the scent of luxury and the weight of poor choices. "Did you find yourself thinking of me?" I remained utterly still, my gaze unwavering. "You have taken my money without my consent." He gave a slight shrug. "You took my father's partner away from him." The barista, known as Jesse, called out his name with a playful wink as he rose to his feet. A fresh beginning. A fresh title. He strolled confidently to the counter. The college girls' laughter danced in the air as he glided by them. Identical Lucas. Varied quarry. Upon his return, he placed a folded newspaper before me. The social column. Thomas has announced his engagement. Tech CEO Thomas Ricarder is set to marry marketing executive Madeline Brooks. The photograph captured Thomas with a smile. His arm encircled a blonde, half his age. Lucas inclined his head closer. He had her all set before we even departed. I took a sip of my coffee. I know because I have seen the emails and the hotel receipts. The deceptions I had overlooked while concentrating on my own. Lucas's smirk vanished. "You don't even feel anger." "Oh, I am absolutely seething." I placed my cup on the table, simply not directed at him. Lucas held off until I rose to depart before letting it fall. "She is expecting a child. Stilled. Expected in March." He loomed above me as he always had. It seems he was not plagued by fertility issues after all. A sharp twist of the blade. For years, Thomas and I had made our attempts. Unsuccessful. He placed the blame on me. "Behold this." Lucas leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. "I have the power to help you erase him from your memory once more." A chuckle escaped my lips. Upon his visage. Then I stepped outside. Beyond the gaze of the onlooking patrons. Beyond the barista who challenged me. Beyond the specter of the woman I once was. A letter awaits. A week later it finally arrived. Substantial linen paper. Thomas's monogram. Elegantly embossed in gold. Within a single sentence. "I extend my forgiveness to you." There is no signature. There is no plea. In pursuit of harmony. Only forgiveness I had not earned. I set it ablaze in the sink. The ultimate reality. The therapist inquires about the true reason for my presence. For I selected a boy in place of my own existence, I declare. Hold on. Let it go. For there exists a fragment of my being that would willingly embark on that journey once more. The stillness expands. There are confessions that require no absolution. Simply observe. Lillian's future life revealed itself as a gradual, poignant confrontation with the repercussions. Concerning her decisions. Having parted ways with Lucas and acknowledging the ashes of her former connections, she sought refuge in a quaint town where her history remained a secret. Laboring in the shadows of a dilapidated diner, she received her wages in crisp bills, all while enduring the manager's unsettling gaze. He believed she was unaware of his gaze. Her hands bore the indelible marks of coffee grounds and grease. Her formerly manicured nails lay in disarray, now chipped and brittle. Her reflection in the fractured mirror above the sink revealed a face that felt foreign. sunken cheeks, weary gaze, a profound fatigue that no amount of sleep could remedy. The funds scarcely sufficient to meet the rent for the studio apartment, where a persistent leak dripped from the faucet and the walls echoed with the quarrels of neighbors. Evenings lingered in silence, her gaze fixed upon the ceiling, lost in the question of whether Thomas ever held her in his thoughts. If Lucas had discovered another companion. Annihilate. A wave of shame churned in her stomach each time she stumbled upon their names online. Thomas's refined LinkedIn profile. His new wife's Instagram brims with snapshots of sun-soaked vacations and heartwarming baby moments. Lucas soon found himself entangled in legal troubles. A poignant reminder of the journey we embarked upon. Her fingers quivered as she clicked away. The past pursued her relentlessly, a shadow that lingered no matter how swiftly she moved. Festive occasions. Alone, I found solace in a bottle of inexpensive wine, the television's cacophony serving to mask the heavy silence that enveloped me. The handful of friends who remained in her life navigated their conversations with a delicate grace, carefully avoiding the unspoken truth that loomed large between them. Their sympathy more burdensome than condemnation. The years meld into one another, a relentless cycle of mere existence. Her beauty transformed into a more austere and subdued presence. A woman of a certain kind, one that captures the attention of those around her. A fleeting glance, quickly erased from memory. Her aspirations of transformation disintegrating beneath the burden of truth. On a rainy Tuesday, she unexpectedly found herself gazing at a community college brochure. Her finger glided along the contours of a counseling degree. A delicate and elusive sensation began to awaken within her heart, a feeling long dormant for years. The chance to assist other women who, like her, had wandered away from their true selves. The winding path stretches before us, intimidating, yet it remains within the realm of possibility. Her initial, unsteady stride toward atonement, neither grand nor dramatic, but rather small and serene. A certain grace emerges only when you cease your flight from your own essence. The future remains shrouded in uncertainty, yet it is no longer devoid of hope. The weight, her mistakes linger weighty yet no longer suffocating. The woman in the mirror, at last, revealed a companion she could begin to embrace, if not entirely just yet.